What's going on, guys, and welcome back. We got another balance patch for Marvel Snap, and my god, I cannot believe some of these cards were buffed and nerfed. Definitely going to shake up the meta and are some game-changing adjustments. We also got ourselves some huge Marvel Snap news, and a lot of it was not even officially highlighted or announced. So a lot to break down today. We're going to start with the buffs and nerfs. I cannot process that Thanos got this big of a buff. He is now a 6'11". He was a 6'8", and the developers recognized that the Infinity Stones was primarily why you wanted to use Thanos. But now, with no adjustments to the stone, the Power Stone is going to make him a 6'21". Now, you guys know I've always been on the Thanos hype train, trying to get other people to realize he's a big brain card with so much potential, and now he's even better. Now, I was about to do the meta deck report, and his list was already on there. So in my opinion, I'm just shocked by this. He was already in a great place in the meta, and more players have started to open their eyes to how good that he could potentially be. Now, the only con, I guess, is he's in the Shang-Chi range to go ahead and get slapped by him. But outside of that, Thanos is an amazing card that fits across so many different archetypes in Snap. Overall, this buff was massive for Thanos. He had S-tier rated decks, but now he's definitely going to be an S-tier card himself that fits across multiple archetypes. So you can expect to go up against this guy a lot more. And in general, I don't do a lot of Pool 5 deck guides because not a lot of people have them. But Thanos is my most used card and one of my favorites in Marvel Snap. So if you want to see that, go ahead and like the video down below and let me know in the comments. Next up, we've got Sandman for a colossal nerf and buff together. Just going to change the way he's played entirely. Sandman was a 4-1, and he is now a 5-5. The developers recognize that the Marvel Snap meta right now is focused around dropping a bunch of cards on turn 6, like with Death Wave and post-leader nerf. Sandman is going to be that answer that they want to have for those decks. This is definitely going to change the way he's played, and I'm kind of sad. I feel like he finally was starting to find his ground in the Marvel Snap ecosphere. With Sandman being a 5-5, he now has a spot in Electro ramp decks that I think are going to be pretty damn competitive. You can play him on turn 4, follow that up with like Leech and any other card on turn 6, and he's going to find a nice home. I'm glad they didn't reduce his cost. It's a card game, where you play cards, and so having something like this in the meta would just not be good for the game. But 5-5 is an interesting spot. Now, for our next card, I can't believe this was not in the official announcement. It was kind of tucked away. Absorbing Man is one of the biggest winners of this patch. He can now be triggered by things like Odin and Wong and Kamar Taj, making him a lot more like Mystique that we're used to. And this is just going to open up Absorbing Man's combo potential even further now that you can play him into Wong, following cards like Hazmat and all the other combos that we're definitely going to make some deck guides around. Absorbing Man, though, is kind of going to find his spot even further up the Marvel Snaps meta, and I'm excited for the card itself and the combo potential. Next up, we've got a nerf to Darkhawk, going from a 4-1 to a 4-0. Odds are you've heard the legends and the stories of Darkhawk during the Zabu days. You probably didn't have him yourself. And Darkhawk was in a pretty good spot after Zabu got nerfed. Still just a great value card that you can build some pretty nice decks around. But it's interesting. I'm curious to see how he performs. I don't know if they needed to get rid of that one power point. They even said they were looking at him before the Zabu stuff went live, and so he might get adjusted again. He is a little bit under that Shang-Chi-able range now for a bit of a buff, per se, in some of his games. But overall, I think this is going to be an interesting adjustment to the card, and we'll see how it works over time. Next up, we got what I'm probably most excited about, and that is the small power changes. These cards got a slight bump up in power by 1, and this is something I would like to see on a regular, almost weekly basis for the more underplayed cards in Snap, as 1 power isn't that big of a deal. And guys, this was already kind of an underused card that should be played a lot more. And I think she's going to definitely find her spot a bit more in Snap. Again, kind of like Gamora if she's played in the right lane. I think she's got her spot, though, in reveal decks. Odin retriggers, Arnim Zola. Shuri's going to be crazy because you can now get a 16 Spider-Woman with also the negative power. So I think she's going to get more play. This was a nice adjustment to a card that's been adjusted now a few times to find her proper spot in the meta. Now, alongside her, we have Namor, who went from a 4-5 to a 4-6. Definitely a card that is very underplayed. Not a great card in Snap. 4-11 even, what she is now, is not enough to typically win you a lane. I think Namor could get a little more play with like a Spectrum deck. This is kind of funny. It makes Orca even worse now, in my opinion. And then on top of that, a Tuma kind of finds himself in a weird spot because a Tuma's a 410. You can play him on top of like an armor lane or zero him. But now that Namor's a 411, that effectively does his job better in a small way, is very interesting. I want to see how Namor kind of fits in. I don't think it's going to be earth-shattering. Probably still going to be a kind of a garbage card. But you can now use him in some Spectrum lists a bit more dependently, I guess. Lastly, for the small bump up in power, we have Dagger. And I am pumped. As you guys know, already like Dagger. Just made a whole video and deck guide about the card. She's usually a 2-9, but now she'll be a reliable 2-10 when played her properly. My favorite interactions, I'll make another guide, I'm sure, but doing Beast on top of Iron Fist, or just playing Iron Fist and her on the last turn, give you a lot of power for only 3 energy. Dagger's good. I think she's going to be a premier choice in move decks moving forward, as far as when move gets some nice bump ups to the archetype itself with some new card releases. Now, alongside the balance patch, we also got some big Marvel Snap news, and most of it wasn't officially announced, just talked about on Twitter or just something by the devs in the Discord. So we're going to talk about those. We did get some pool series drops, and from 5 to 4, we've got these cards dropping. I think Null is probably going to be the premier card that I would use the tokens on out of these options. If you didn't get Silver Surfer, he's great as well. Now, Series 4 to 3, Agent Coulson has always been slept on, and he's a great card for battle mode if you love challenging your friends or doing tournaments. And at the same time, Devil Dino, bounce decks, really good card that I would consider unlocking. Now, on top of that, we have art and visual effect changes. Probably the biggest one here is that we have Mysterio's Illusions will now use your variant. Nice subtle change. You know, I get that they can't do the Doom bots for every Doctor Doom variant and commission that art, but Mysterio was an easy fix and definitely welcomed. Now, in addition, they did fix a bunch of different bugs as well. Most notably, the Pro Bundle is now at the bottom of the shop. Thank goodness, so you're not, plugged by that every time for the people that did not buy it. But more importantly, the things they did not announce, and these are actually kind of major to Marvel Snap if you play on a daily basis. Featured and hot locations are officially being looked at, and I could not be more happy. They're going to experiment having the featured locations go from 48 hours to 24 hours. Thank God. And then hot locations, I think they're going to remove and kind of test that out. That's definitely something that I've been waiting to get changed. I get that some people like it, but I think the majority would like to see that time reduced, as 48 hours is a long time and is definitely needed. Now, lastly, as far as upcoming updates, it looks like a new competitive mode is going to be hitting us somewhat soon, as well as a rework to the token shop system to make new cards more fun and accessible. Both of these changes, highly needed. The locations, the new card changes, all of it is very welcomed. I just wish they would kind of sneak these things into the patch notes so that you don't have to, watch a video like this to find out. So we've got some big changes coming, guys. A lot of buff and balance changes. The meta deck report will be out in the next couple of days once we get adjusted to this new meta. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know down below which of these new cards you want to see a deck on first. I'll definitely make that a priority. Thanks for stopping by, and until the next one, guys, happy snapping.